Hey, everybody, it is Trags Mike Petraglia alongside Richard Skinner of Local 12 and Local12.com. We know him better as Skinny. This is the Bengals Jungle Roar post-game podcast following a 37-14 romp. We get to say the word romp for the second straight week. This time, the Bengals rout the Arizona Cardinals, improved to 6-10 on the season. Skinny, for the second straight week, the Bengals enjoy a laugher. It's good to see the Bengals kind of pad those statistics. And for the first time since this team started 2-0 and so much hope ago, back in weeks 1 and 2, the Bengals have strung together consecutive wins. Obviously, a lot of people got a great laugh out of the 21-yard pass completion to Cody Ford. But on a more serious note, the fact that the Bengals actually won consecutive games, what is the biggest significance of that? I guess I'll start there.
I think that you see that the offense is still elite, Mike. I think that's the biggest part to me. It's an elite unit. Didn't play like it against Baltimore a few weeks ago. Joe Burrow didn't play like it against Baltimore a few weeks ago. And when you look back, it's probably an outlier for everybody. It was a weird week. I think we've all believed that Joe got broken after the Buffalo loss. It carried into that week. Then there was a reset after that loss. In the last 2 weeks, he's been elite. And, since Joe's come back, in the 5 games since he's come back, Mike, they've scored at least 32 points in 4 of the 5 games. I don't think that's an accident. We can argue that Miami stinks. Right. We can argue Arizona stinks. Buffalo doesn't stink. Buffalo gave up 13 to the Eagles today, in the rain, mind you, but they gave up 13 to the Eagles today. It's a good team. It's a good enough defense. And Joe Burrow went up and played winning football to the point where his one interception and the second one that followed kind of broke him for a week. And it played out in real time. 32 against Baltimore. Yeah, turnovers helped that, but they played great. I don't think that's an accident. I think that's the one thing you can hang your hat on is when the band is fully together. And that's T, Jamar, Gesicki, Chase Brown, Noah Fant, all the weapons you have, and the offensive line playing at a pretty high level. This team is going to score a lot of points, and you can hang your hat on that. When you're in a full rebuild mode as a team, and there are some that are in there, Vegas, Giants, pick. There's a bunch of them we can Browns, a bunch of them we can pick. There are flaws everywhere. There's flaws in this defense still, which is getting better, but there's still flaws. There's nothing on this offense where you're like, ooh, they got issues. They got no issues. They're really good when they're healthy, and I think they're proving that right now, and I think that's something you can hang your hat on.
Something that a lot of people, or some people, I shouldn't say a lot, some people talked about coming into this game was how remarkable it was that Jamar Chase had not recorded a touchdown reception since week 7, October 16th, that Thursday night win over the Pittsburgh Steelers at Paycor, 33-31. There were a number of different reasons, I think, why he went into, such a slump, such a drought. I think primarily it was the defenses that he was going up against. Even with T. Higgins healthy, I think opposing defenses did everything in their power to take him out of the game, especially in the red zone. They did not want Jamar Chase getting behind the defense. Well, here on Sunday in a 37-14 romp, it was as if Joe Burrow and Zac Taylor came out and said, enough. We're going to go right down the field. And sure enough, the pass play to Jamar Chase, it turned out to be a 13-yard touchdown score. He had to earn it. And I asked Jamar after the game about that. And he said, yeah, it's kind of appropriate that I had to break 2 tackles and struggle my way over the goal line for that touchdown. But it was good to see Jamar Chase finally get back into the end zone. He would wind up with 2 touchdowns on the afternoon. We'll get a little bit into that in just a moment. But the fact that he finally got off the schneid, got in the scoring column, your biggest takeaway from that?
Yeah, I think they were going to force feed that to him at some point, no matter what, to get that. I don't think that bubble screen was probably force fed because it wasn't even a bubble screen. It was like a quick toss in the flat, and you go make play. It looked like an old school high school play. Like, here's our best guy. Let him get a touch because he's going to break 3 tackles and go in the end zone, and he did that. But I also think it was, let's see if we can let that happen to get him, to your point, off the schneid. I thought that was a big point of emphasis because it was talked about a lot. I know he said he didn't know it. Burrow said he didn't know it. Zach said he didn't know it. They knew it. Everybody
Of course they knew it.
They knew it.
There's no way you can tell me that they weren't aware that Jamar Chase had not been in the end zone in so long. I find that really hard to believe.
But I also like the fact that he had to go earn it. I mean, that was a great individual play to the point where you're like, okay, got you off the schneid. Now let's go get another one. And they finally did. And I think to your point, I think defenses really have focalized on that. I think the Joe Burrow offense has never been one that says, I'm going to focus on this guy. I know there are some in the marketplace that bang the Bengals for not scheming guys open. Why can Trey McBride get schemed open? Well, great. Trey McBride gets schemed open for what? For meaningless catches at the end of games? Good for him. I like
as
Trey
he
McBride.
did on Sunday in a 37, at time, 37-7 route.
Correct. I mean, he's on my fantasy team. I love Trey McBride. He gets me a lot of garbage stuff. That's all well and good. But I think the Bengals, when they've had to scheme Jamar open, they have. The Arizona game a couple of years ago, remember? Jamar had 15 catches when the Bengals desperately needed a win. The Pittsburgh Thursday night game, I don't think that was definitive they schemed him open. I think it was Joe Flacco going, where are you, my guy? 23 targets that night. That's not Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was maybe, if Jamar's in the progression first a bunch, yeah, if you're open, fine. He's always going where the coverage dictates. I think Joe Flacco on that one Thursday night game went, where are you at, number one? Oh, okay, I'm going to throw it to you. That's fine. It worked out great. They won a game, and he was great. And so I think teams have schemed against Jamar. I think Joe takes what the defense gives him. I think it was the end result of kind of being on that slide he was on. And then today it felt like, man, this team stinks. We're getting you something. We're getting you one, and maybe we get you two, and they did.
They did, and he now has 7 touchdowns. How about this for a stat, Skinny? He is the first receiver in NFL history with at least 80 receptions, at least 1,000 yards, and at least 7 touchdowns in each of his first 5 NFL seasons. Think of all the remarkably gifted wide receivers in NFL history. Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, somebody, Jamar Chase has often mentioned that a guy, Megatron, a guy that he has looked up to. So many great, nobody's ever done that.
Well, let me throw one more at you, because when I saw that stat today, I went, really? And AFL stats, as you know, American Football League, not conference, American Football League stats got folded in. I can't believe Lance Allworth didn't do that. Right. I cannot believe that. Now, he didn't probably have the number of catches because that wasn't that era. That was more of an era of sling it down the field, and he didn't. I went back and looked. But, yeah, I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment for Jamar Chase to show the level of consistency, performance, just being a pro's pro. Don't forget he missed the game this year, right? And I say that being a pro's pro when he spit on Jalen Ramsey and got suspended. I'm taking it as an outlier. We talked about that back in the day.
Sure.
But he is an absolute professional wide receiver in every way, shape, or form, and he shows it every week.
He does indeed. His numbers on Sunday, he's had better days. 7 catches on 9 targets, 60 yards. He had a long of 22 yards. But he was also asked, I believe, by Joe Danneman of Fox 19 after the game about whether or not he thinks about possibly breaking his own single-season team receiving mark.
Didn't know what it was. He didn't know what it was.
It was 127, of course, from the Triple Crown season last year. He has 117 after 15 games, obviously, as you mentioned, he missed one. But after 15 games, Skinny, he has 117 receptions. And what does Jamar say? Nah, I'm not going to get that next week. And he kind of tossed it aside, almost as if he knew something. Like, yeah, he's going to play, but he's probably not going to play the whole game. And I asked, Zac Taylor after the game whether or not Joe Burrow would play next week, and he said yes, definitively he will play. How much? We don't know. We'll see how the game unfolds. But go ahead.
No, I was saying, that's the part. I mean, we don't know how much he's going to play. Jamar probably realizes he's not going to play a whole lot. And it's disappointing because that one game that he missed, right? Give him 7 catches in that game, and then you're in the ballpark of throwing him some balls to give him the record. It's not about records, but everybody knows what milestones are. Everybody knows what records are. Everybody knows where they stand with that. I know Jamar does too, but you're right. He realizes I'm not going to play long enough to catch 11 balls on Sunday against Cleveland.
I know Joe Burrow has been fantastic over the last 2 weeks, but there was one play today, one pass where I thought, and I think we all said it in the press box when we saw it.
He missed it.
It was a double move, and he lined up on the slot. He went down seam, made a move, I believe made another move, and then was wide open. Nobody was on him in the end zone. He easily could have had 3 touchdowns, but hey, he'll take the 2 touchdowns. He'll take the 7 catches, which led the Bengals today, 60 yards. And, just an amazing day for Jamar Chase. All right, we talked about Jamar Chase. Now let's talk about another offensive star that is really has emerged in 2025, has had a spectacular season, has had a spectacular second half of the season. We're talking about Chase Brown. He went over 100 yards on the ground today, 22 carries, 101 yards, a 4.6 average, 2 more rushing touchdowns. He has 3 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns in his last 2 games. So 5 touchdowns in blowout wins over the Dolphins and today against Arizona. On the receiving side, he caught all 3 passes that were thrown to him for 40 yards, including an 18-yard reception. So let's do the math. I think I'm pretty good here, Skinny. 141 yards from scrimmage. Chase Brown getting it done. And boy, I loved what he said after the game about this is the kind of offense we can be. Like you said earlier in the podcast, this is the offense we can be when we're all playing together.
Yeah, I mean, he is such a difference maker, in my opinion, because we know what Jamar Chase is. We know what T. Higgins is. You know what a Mike Gesicki is. You know what those guys are. And to some degree, I thought after last season I knew where Chase Brown was trending. And then we had that first few games where it was a struggle. Not because of Chase Brown, because the offensive line was a mess. And it was like, well, maybe this is not going to work the way I thought. And then finally the offensive line started to gel, and he's popping runs. He's catching passes. He is really a special talent in a lot of ways. I know that you and I have talked about this. I've talked about this on the podcast before. We did a podcast with Paul Daner Jr. and our friend Jay Morrison early in the year before the year started downtown. And they always ask us to make a bold prediction. I'm not going to dish you on your bold predictions. I'm going to leave that alone, Mike. You can call yourself out if you want on that one.
Andre Yosivash.
You want to do it? I'm going to let you do it.
Yeah, I said that the Bengals would have 3 receivers with at least 10 touchdown receptions. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and 1 Andre Yosivash.
That's why I like you, Mike. You're so self-deprecating. I love the fact you call yourself out on that.
Skinny, I'm only 8 shy. He is going to break an NFL record. He's going to set an NFL record against the Cleveland Browns with 4 from Joe Burrow and 4 from Joe Flacco.
8 touchdown passes. That'd be great. That would be something. But my prediction was that he was going to set the Bengals single season record for yards from scrimmage. It's 1773 by James Brooks. He's going to fall short of that. But he is a 2,000 yard for scrimmage guy in an offense that has mouths to feed, right? It's got Jamar Chase to feed. It's got T. Higgins to feed. It's got a plethora of tight ends to feed. And yet he has that ability to do that. This is, I think, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, I think this is 8 times in the last 10 games he's gone over 100 yards from scrimmage. And people can look and go, it's 100 yards. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. And you do that for 17 games, you're at 1,700 yards. You do that with like 110 yards, you're at 1,800 yards. That's significant, and I think that's what this kid is. He is unlocking so much more in this Bengals offense that in this offseason, they have to figure out a way, because one of the issues is, and I'm sure we'll all write about it, has been the poor starts in the running game the last few years of why can't you unlock this early? What does it take to go, oh, this isn't working. Let's go to pin and pull. Let's go to wide zone. Let's see a duo block that works. Let's see Chase running. Because it's been weird the last few seasons for 5 or 6 weeks. They go dart hunting in the run game to the point where they're in a hole they can't get out of for a while. And then they do, and you're like, well, why did it take so long to figure this out? And so to me, if you can do that next year with whatever you do on defense, and we all agree there's a bunch to do on defense, I'm sure we're going to get to, you're not that far away from being a really good football team again. And Chase Brown's a big part of that.
All right. While you were going on there, I brought up some of the receiving numbers and the rushing numbers. Chase Brown this year has 947 yards from scrimmage as a running back. And if I pull this up and go to receiving, Chase Brown has 400. He has 419 receiving yards, including the 40 of today. So do the math. 419 plus whatever it was, 947. So he's well over 1,000. Obviously, he's right at about
1,400-ish. I mean, he's not going to get 300 to break James Brooks's record, but he's got an outside chance for 1,000-yard rushing season, 500-yard receiving season. That's no small potatoes.
No, it isn't. And here's the other thing that I don't think people appreciate about Chase Brown. He takes more, I think, physical abuse than Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, Jamar Chase is a physical receiver. I'm not saying he's not. But when you're a running back running between the tackles the way Chase Brown does, I think you have to tip your cap to him and say, he's picking up really hard yards. He's bouncing up off the ground and getting ready to do it again. He is essentially an every down back.
Yeah, I mean, he had a catch today on the sidelines, I think if you remember, where he spun away from a guy, spun away from another guy, put contact into a guy like, I'm not going down. You're going to have to take me down. I'm not going down. I think that's the epitome of him. Listen, as much as we've dissed Duke Tobin drafts, and rightfully so, good for them. They got this kid right.
They got this one right.
They got this
Absolutely.
kid right. Yep.
And, he's young, and he is, in his third year in the National Football League. And, when you look at a guy like that, do you think about extending Chase Brown after this season?
And I'm not a big extend running backs guy. And I'm not so sure he commands a ton of money on the open market. I don't mean that in a bad way, just because there's –
You don't want to bid against yourself, but if you like the guy.
Yeah, that's a great point. But I also like the guy. Like, what does he do wrong? He's a great teammate, great locker room guy, great receiver, great runner. He's gotten so much better at blitz pickup. He's not Samaje Perine who just laid a dude out today on a blitz pickup. But he's really, really good at all of those things, and you can't discount that. Listen, they extended Joe Mixon once. I was iffy on it. It was probably the right move to make. You're not going to extend a running back probably a third time. That's just not the league and the position group. It's a shame to some degree. It's kind of worn out its welcome. I think you have to extend this kid just for all the things he does for you, because I don't want to go hunting for that kid again.
Stay ahead of the curve for once.
Yes.
I mean, yes. I know they've done it before.
I don't think it will cost you a lot either. I think it won't cost you a ton, in my opinion.
And the other thing, and maybe this doesn't mean anything to them, maybe it does. It sends a message in the locker room that if you're one of our guys, we do want to extend you. And to a degree, they did that with T. Yep. I don't think there's any question. They said, look, we love T. Higgins. We love Jamar. We know what they can do for us. We're going to keep them. Send the same message about Chase Brown, because I'll always remember what Dan Picture said in training camp. He's going to be a critical part of our offense going forward. Well, if that's the case, you want to keep the guy around.
Well, and I will tell you, Joe Mixon had his faults as a player. He was never a good blitz pickup guy, never a great pass block guy. But Joe Mixon was a dual threat guy. I mean, he was a between the tackles runner. He was a toss sweep runner. He could hit a big play for you. He was a good receiver. He could make a big play as a receiver. It wasn't always as consistent as you would have liked, but he did all those things. Chase Brown's exactly that guy, and he's a better guy on top of it.
All right, Cody Ford, is he the next Andre Yosavash?
I got to tell you, Mike, that play, because we're all human beings, right? For those that don't know, and you probably do know, it's the whole "there's no cheering in the press box" mantra, right? It's a reverent place, and I'm probably the loudest in the press box because I'm always complaining about something or making fun of somebody.
But you do it in a loving way.
But how nobody couldn't enjoy that play, right? Like, to the point of laughter is beyond me. And we all laughed. I think all the media people laughed. I think all the other workers in the press box, the stat people laughed. It was a funny, great, fun play. And the fact that, Mike, it felt like that was like a design play. Like, we're going to have some fun and throw it to Cody. And it was to some degree. And Joe Burrow could have been lying. And there's a part of me as I look back at the transfer, like, is he really full of crap on this? Where Jamar was the first read.
Yes.
He was the first read. Then he looked at Drew Sample, and then he looked at Cody Ford. And I'm like, I got to take you at your word. But there's a part of me that went, are you kidding me? That looked like such a design. Let's have fun play. And then the run after catch, and he's running up the sideline, and he keeps sneaking up the sideline like, this big dude's going to the end zone. Mike, we all played with that guy in our neighborhood, right? When we were a kid. I lived in New York for a while in Peekskill, New York, and we used to play tag football that became tackle football in the street, literally in the street of my cul-de-sac in Peekskill, New York. Like, I'd catch a pass and somebody would clobber me that was 5 years older. And then there'd be the guy as a 5th grader where you're like, oh no, the 10th grader is about to get the ball. I can't tackle the 10th grader. Please don't let me tackle. That's what it looked like, didn't it not? Like, here comes the biggest guy in the class, 5 classes above me, and they've put me on recess and go tackle him, guy. That's what it looked like.
After the game, of course, we asked Cody Ford, and Cody Ford said, during the play, Joe kept saying, get out wider, get out wider, get out wider. And during the week when they were running it, I think Ford's words were, I thought he wanted me out away from the play so I wouldn't screw it up.
Correct.
But then I realized, oh no, I'm actually a legitimate receiving target for Joe Burrow. And I just love the way he really soaked it all in on his 29th birthday. And you had the question of post-game to Zac Taylor. Did you know it was his birthday, Zac? And his answer?
I think he did, but he said, I don't know anybody's birthday, just to be clear. I was made aware of it after the game. And maybe he was, but that felt like a offensive coordinator or analyst goes, Zac, it's Cody's birthday. Let's get him a touch. And you go, yeah, you know what? We put this play in, X right, 61 out wide, go banana, slot, fade, whatever. I mean, you had to have some kind of play for that, in my opinion. You don't do that out of coincidence on somebody's birthday, do you?
No, I don't think you do. By the way, I did ask Cody, did you know where you were on the field? Because it looked like you could have had a shot at the end zone.
He said he was trying to score.
He said he was trying to score, and then he got grief from teammates like, why didn't you get to the end zone? You had really nobody in front of you. And he said, look, I put my head down, and wherever I was going to end up was wherever I was going to end up. And one more thing on the Cody Ford note, or two more things. First of all, I think we take ourselves a little too seriously. Somebody in the press box noted this to us and made a comment to James Rapine and myself. And he said, if somebody on a team that's getting beat 30-7 does that to me, somebody's going to pay a price for it. I guess I understand being shown up in a game like that. You've lost 7 straight games. You're getting your tail whipped again, 30-7 at that point of the game. And maybe, Arizona looks at it and goes, oh my God, are you serious? And they just didn't seem like there were no cheap shots after that I observed.
Yeah, I think it would have been rubbing it in if you'd have done something else, because they did do 2 offensive linemen eligible, him and Lucas Patrick, down in the 1st and goal situation. I think if you'd have done something there where you threw it to Lucas or you let Cody run it in, that probably would have been ugly to me. I mean, listen, Ben Johnson, when he played the Bengals in the 47-42 game, let's not forget, and it was a close game, mind you, but Caleb Williams, the quarterback, caught 2 passes in that game. He ran a bunch of trick games because he realized, I'm playing 2 rookie linebackers, and I'm going to show you that your 2 rookie linebackers suck to the point of I'm going to embarrass you. You know what?
That's totally different, though, Skinny.
A little bit.
They knew Ben Johnson knew coming in that the Bengals were horrific in terms of covering, we'll call them specialty plays.
Correct.
Not always trick plays, but specialty plays where there's a twist, and you've got to be alert enough to know what the twist is. Like when you put a second quarterback out at wide receiver and you don't recognize the number, oh, that's a second quarterback. I think the Jets had done that the week before against the Bengals, right. And the Bengals had no idea that he was out there. And Ben Johnson sees that and wants to take advantage of that competitively. That's not what this was.
Well,
today.
I listen. I'm a big as a high school basketball coach myself. I'm a huge sportsmanship guy. I truly am. I think it's a great part of it.
Yeah.
In this circumstance, at the professional level, you see Cody Ford split out. You do one of two things: either you think it's a joke or you cover him. And guess what? If you cover him, you tackle him. You're allowed to tackle him, and they couldn't tackle him.
So on that note, Skinny, Ted Karras was asked about that, and he said, "I know if I'm a cornerback, I don't want to tackle that guy. I'm almost his size, and I don't want to tackle Cody Ford." So
I was going to say, chop him down, chop his feet. His feet are not going to step over you. You can chop him down. But it was honestly, from just the Bengals' perspective, you're allowed to have fun occasionally in the league. I thought it was a fun play. It ended up being a fun play. Ended up being a fun story. We're all writing about it in some way, shape, or form, or whatever we're writing about. So yeah, to me, give me an interesting storyline. Give me an interesting aspect of it. I thought that was interesting. And listen, I'm a big, don't rub it in. I didn't feel like that was rubbing it in. Maybe people did. If you did, I'm sorry for you. You did.
Right. Let's move on to the defense.
Yep.
I thought the Bengals actually, and this was brought up to Zac Taylor postgame, did a really good job on Trey McBride.
They did.
10 catches, 13 targets, 76 yards. 6 of those catches, I believe, were in garbage time. The game had already been decided. They really did not let Trey McBride run all over them. And I was impressed with that for one reason. Bengals have been bad this year against defending tight ends. Today, Al Golden schemed it up, and they were good against McBride. And he came in. He set some history himself, by the way, becoming the first tight end in NFL history with at multiple seasons of at least 110 receptions. He also set the new single season NFL receiving mark for a tight end, breaking, I forget, I've got to look it up. But anyway, it was a Philadelphia, Zach Ertz. Was Zach Ertz had 114, I want to say, back in 2018 with Philadelphia. And it was McBride blowing right by that today. He has 119. So good for McBride, but good for the Bengals defense today.
Yeah, no, it's funny. So the running game thing I do, I include stats in there, individual stats at the end. I'm scrambling around making sure I get the stats. And so the Bengals were getting ready to take knees at the end of the game. So I'm typing in all the Arizona stats. And I typed in, and you do it blindly, right? Like Trey McBride, 10 catches, 76 yards, touchdown. I went, wait a minute, he had 10 catches? Did he really? It didn't feel like, that's the thing, it didn't feel like that. And, I think they found a little bit of something with DJ Ivey, maybe in the Trey Flowers mold, where he's the tight end stopper. And I say that and you laugh and you go, well, he caught 10 for 76. Yeah, but 10 for 76 is pretty pedestrian for Trey McBride.
Look at the first 3 quarters.
Right, no, yeah, exactly right. But it is funny. The Bengals came into the game having already allowed the most receiving yards to tight ends in NFL history. They've now allowed 16 touchdowns to tight ends in NFL history, which is one off the record. They're closing in on the record for receptions allowed. Cleveland tight ends are going to have a big day, but guess what? It's Harold Fan and David Njoku, and they're pretty good tight ends. Yeah. But I think for the last 3 weeks, Mike, they allowed Baltimore tight ends in that 24-0 loss, so it probably gets bypassed, and rightfully so. They allowed those guys, I think it was just Mark Andrews by himself, 2 catches for like 14 yards. Last week, Darren Waller had a couple of big catches. Greg Dulcich had a couple of big catches, but also fumbled a football. They had 6 for like 60 or 70. I think you take that in a way. And then today, McBride has 10. I mean, for the most part, the last 3 weeks, they found not an answer, but they found at least a little formula for maybe slowing that down, because it has been epically bad, as we know.
Yes, indeed, it has. But the Bengals did play a little more dime today than I think we've seen in the past. And certainly DJ Ivey was a part of that. He played deep. He played free safety. He played a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. But it was interesting to see what Al Golden did. Look, it wouldn't be a Bengals podcast if we didn't include one play that was just abysmally bad.
Oh, yeah.
And we haven't mentioned his name the whole podcast, but brother, you know where we're going.
Oh, I sure do.
He wears double deuce. That number that I wore after Andrew Toney in high school. playing basketball. Geno
Andrew
Stone
Toney.
doesn't. Geno Stone does not quite match the caliber of player Andrew Toney was.
No, Andrew Toney would have probably tackled better.
Probably. So Geno Stone whiffed on Michael Wilson on, let's see, what was the length of the touchdown here?
38, I think. That's not right.
Yeah,
38 yards. Yeah, 38. I got it. I just looked 38 yards.
Yep,
But
indeed.
38 yards, but 18 of it was a run. He caught it around the 20 going in towards the left sideline, and then just ran up the sideline where Barrett Carter decides, I can't run with you, but I'll try. And then Geno Stone says, oh, I think I'll tackle you, but I really can't. I'm going to throw a shoulder at you. And Jordan Bell just goes, well, I'm good. You guys do your thing. It was embarrassing.
So that was the most damning part of the play, Skinny. When you're watching it live, and you remember I came down to you
yes.
and Kelsey Conway, and I was saying, wait a minute, you mentioned Jordan Battle. Was he in the play? And then I realized why he wasn't in the play. He stopped about 5 yards if he continued to run, the least he could have done is push Wilson out of bounds because he was on the trajectory to knock him right out of bounds and did not. But look, that was a terrible play. And I said, and I tweeted this out, it is a reminder to everybody, no matter what happens in these final 3 games, that this defense needs to be completely overhauled or very overhauled. Not maybe every single player thrown to the curbside, but it needs to be overhauled for 2026. That single play reminds you, yes, we need a different approach. We need different personnel on the field at all 3 levels.
Yeah, and listen, I think Joe said it pretty well. I don't have the quote in front of me, but about it's, individual progression is a good thing. It's good to see that at the end of the year. It's a big part of moving forward the next year. And I agree with that. Like, Myles Murphy's made individual progression. Do I think he's great? No, but he's made individual progression. Shamar Stewart today, it's fun to see him make a sack. Is it a huge step forward? No. But is it a step forward? Yeah. Am I anointing him? Of course not. Your TJ Slayton had a sack today. Am I anointing him? No. The rookie linebackers have had moments of late. They still struggle. Geno Stone and Jordan Battle, that play today was an epitome of it. To your point, yes, you need help at all the levels. I do think there's been some individual progression. The unit has progressed, not like in the stratosphere of progression where you go, man, this is a really good defense. No, but it's been a better defense. I mean, they gave up 19 to Pittsburgh. They gave up 14 to Baltimore. They give up 19 to New England. Again, don't forget, take out the pick sixes, people. They gave up 21 to Miami. They gave up 14 today. And I realize some of these teams stink. I get that. That's all fair and well good, but it's gotten better. It shouldn't be like, well, they're getting better. Let's run the unit back. No. You need to fix a chunk of this, but at least there's some individual progress. But back to the Geno Stone thing, he can't play. I mean, he cannot be a starter in this league whatsoever, in my opinion. He's a third safety at best. And I'm not so sure Jordan Battle isn't that guy, but I don't know if you can fix everything. So if you have to tell me I'm going to bring in somebody who's a capable starter to go with Jordan Battle, I go, oh, okay, I have to live with that. But there's so much that needs to be fixed, and it can't be masked. And that play was an epitome of it.
Well, and certainly I think you go back to the 2023 Ravens, and he had a terrific year. He was very opportunistic. I think he led all safeties with interceptions that year with 7.
I think he was second in the NFL overall in interceptions with 7.
So, but he was probably 10th or 11th best player on that defense.
Yes.
But still, I mean, the Bengals thought that they were getting a player that they could use. But the problem with that rationale is you don't expect him to be a leader. You expect him to be a terrific complementary piece. And when you have nothing around him, I think that's where you get into trouble. And by nothing, I mean very little pass rush, linebackers who are out of position. Jordan Battle, who was a safety still learning his role, and he's not going to excel and succeed in that position.
Yeah, no, and that's the part of it. That's where you need dudes who can do things. And the only thing I can hold my hat on, and we'll all write about this in the next few months in January, February, combine, free agency. You have some money to spend. You have some money to burn. You only have to, and that's the thing, you only have to address one side of the ball. Could I use a backup guard or maybe a
Backup
starting
tackle.
guard, backup swing tackle for sure. But those are down my laundry list. I've got a chance to burn some money on defense. And the last time they did that, the only thing I'll give Duke Tobin credit for, because I think his drafts have been atrocious. I'm still not so sure on the 2023 draft, despite our friend Paul Dehner Jr. trying to convince us otherwise. I get it. I just don't agree with it. I need to see more. I can be convinced of that moving forward. I'm not convinced now. But that year they got a lot of things right in free agency. I mean, let's not forget, they took a flyer on a guy in Trey Hendrickson who had 1 year of production. Worked out famously. And so you've got the money to burn. You've got proven NFL tape, which I'm a big believer of. Get it right. Get it right, and you're not far off because as I go back to this, the offense is still very, very much elite. Yep.
No question. It is definitely elite. What are you working on, Skinny, for local12.com?
Yeah, literally that, Mike, that the offense is proving that it's still an elite unit, and you can hang your hat on that. The fact that they had a little fun today with the Cody Ford play. But don't get buffaloed by where we're at defensively. They've made progress. There's individual progress. I can't ignore the individual progress. Like, I was out on Miles Murphy at the bye week. Totally out. And to his credit, I'm back in. Good for you, kid, man. You've changed some minds. Do I think you're a star? Nope. Do I think you're a capable player? Yep. I'm okay with that.
By the way, you triggered me. Do you know how you triggered me?
Oh, no.
Buffaloed.
No, sir,
okay,
yeah.
The reason, this is a little inside baseball here. The reason we're a little bit later after the game is not only because I wanted to process all of the video, which is up on the X inside the Bengal locker room. It's up on the Jungle Roar YouTube page. But Skinny and I wanted to consume that terrific game in Orchard Park between the Eagles and the Bills. And Skinny, you read my text messages, and I'm screaming at Sean McDermott. First of all, show some urgency with 6 minutes to go. Don't be huddling. You're letting the clock go tick, 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 tick. And they got in, scored the touchdown. Great. They're because Philly's offense has been abysmal in the second half of the season.
Why go for 2?
Well, okay, here's the thing. He clearly didn't. Badgley, I believe, Michael Badgley,
yes,
had the PAT blocked in the rain. So Sean McDermott's like, I'm not trusting the kicker. This is like Cade York from the Broncos game last year. So Sean McDermott goes, okay, if we get the ball back and we get into the end zone, we're going for 2. Sure enough, on 4th and goal, tush push, ironically, gets Josh Allen into the end zone. They're down a point. They go for 2, and Allen drops back on the 2-point conversion and overthrows the open receiver. And the Bills lose the division to the New England Patriots. Thoughts on Sean McDermott? Just vent.
I love him as a coach. I think he does a lot of great things. I didn't like the decision in real time. Back to your point of Philly had done nothing, I think, and I'm just doing this off the top of my head because I heard it. I think they had 17 yards total offense in the second half. At that point, and how many times has a kicker had an extra point blocked twice in this league on back-to-back plays? I mean, it can't. Did Tom Dempsey, Charlie Gogolak, Pete Gogolak, all the Gogolaks? I mean, Happy Feller. Give me some kickers from back in the day that just stunk. It doesn't. Dave Green, the former Bengals straight-on kicker, stunk.
I want to say the man for Minnesota,
Earl Cox.
That's
Earl Cox. I mean, and then we had Errol May. We had Errol. Yeah, no, yeah, it was Earl Cox.
Man.
Yeah, Errol Man. Yeah, I mean, what are we doing? Kick the extra point. Go to overtime. Your defense is just killing them at that point. Trust your defense and then go win the game. Don't put it down to one play in the rain. And I don't, man. That whole time I was just screaming at the TV like, what are we doing? Why do we have to be the smart way? Analytics showed we should go. You know what? Take analytics and shove it up your butt. I can't stand it. I'm so sick of that crap. I just, the whole. I can't remember what game it was. I think it was a college game last night. It was a college game last night.
Yeah.
North Texas, San Diego State. They're down 9 or no, they were down 5, whatever. They go for 2 and they fall back 9 as opposed to kick an extra point to go down 8. What are we doing? Keep it within one score, man. And you lost 49-47 when you would have had a chance to maybe go for 2 and tie the score. Stop being the smartest guy in the room.
There he is, Kenny. That's why we love having you on this podcast.
Thanks for triggering me, Mike. I appreciate that.